So one of the great things about Walmart historically has been this desire to try and experiment with new things and be okay if some things didn't work out, but you got a lot of great learnings. Store 8 is kind of the modern embodiment of that. It's a group of folks who are really working on transformational ideas that impact the company and the customer experience.
Hi, hello today, and welcome to Whyte Label Advice. My name is Brooke McNeely. I am the VP of Marketing here at White Spider. I am joined today by our founder and CTO, Eric Howerton, and our VP of Partnerships, Scott Benedict. Welcome, Scott. Again.
Thank you.
I know we're just.
It seems like I was just here.
You're just here. I know we're just using all the people here today. But today we want to talk about Store No.8 and what it is. And so what is Store No.8 in the terms of Walmart?
So one of the great things about Walmart historically has been this desire to try and experiment with new things and be okay if some things didn't work out, but you got a lot of great learnings. Store 8 is kind of the modern embodiment of that. It's a group of folks who are really working on transformational ideas that impact the company and the customer experience, where technology is involved, and it manifests itself in a lot of great things. The thing I really like about it, Brooke, is they kind of operate with this mindset from everything I've learned about them with, hey, we're just going to try some things, experiment. Some things will work, some things will not work, and that's very consistent with Walmart's heritage of trying new things and trying to innovate and improve the customer experience over time. So
yeah, one of the things that I saw on the website, it was really cool, is that they're like, we move at the speed of a startup, but with the backing of Walmart, which I thought was pretty cool. What do you think, Eric?
Oh, that'd be wonderful in my startup days to have the backing of Walmart, for sure. Yeah, and I think that that's probably one of the greatest challenges, I would say, for any large company and small company. Right, I think every small company, startup would love to have those resources, and I think that every large company would love to have the agility of a startup too, because there's just not much tape to go through. Right, you don't have to ask permission when you're in startup phase. You're just starting up and getting at it, and solving market problems.
Absolutely.
All right. So why is it important for Walmart to stay ahead and always be trying new things?
What kind of question is that, Brooke?
It's a softball, so
it's
go.
Big, yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to start off on
go
that.
For it. Yeah. Lucky. I'll get the hard questions.
One of the things we planned it that way.
That's great.
One of the things that I've always loved about retailing, and I used to tell my students this at Texas A&M, is that retail is always changing, and boredom has never been an issue, whatever role within the retailing ecosystem that's been involved. And this is kind of an embodiment of this, but it's also, I mentioned earlier, it's kind of consistent with Walmart's heritage. I tried to stump Eric earlier before we started this of if I mentioned the name Mart USA, would he know what that meant? And of course,
I didn't.
He did. Wait, he was like this.
Yeah.
Wow. Good job, Brooke.
Yes.
I mean, the fact that you can use those big
I've
buttons.
missed you, sound effects.
That was not a setup to get her to use her sound effects.
Yeah. Planned
but Mart USA, if you don't recall, was this concept that Mr. Sam came up with where general merchandise and food were together in one really large store. And the hypermart concept was present at that time. We're talking about the late 80s. Was present in Europe, and Mr. Sam, being who he was, liking innovation, liking trying new things, traveled all over the world, and this was an idea that he got there and brought it back to the U.S. And my point in all of that is that those units cost a lot to operate. The utilities were expensive. They're expensive to build. But without that trying something new, it ultimately led to the Supercenter. They took knowledge and learning from that, and obviously the Supercenter has turned out to be an incredible innovation for Walmart that a lot of other retailers in the U.S. have never been able to make as productive or efficient or as nice of a shopping experience as it is. And then we're fortunate enough to where we live here, and we could see new continued innovations in the Supercenter format all the time. And I think sometimes we get jaded by the fact that we get to see all this cool new stuff going on here. But I think that spirit of that Mart USA is kind of embodied in what Store 8 does now, which is let's try new elements. It's not a whole store format, but it's using technology and ideas to kind of transform the shopping experience or create efficiencies. And I think of Mart USA when I think of what Store 8 is doing today. So,
well, what's interesting, if you go on the Store 8 website, you'll read about us. Store 8 comes from that concept of using Store 8, which was the Morrilton, Arkansas store, of where Sam would go down and test a lot of his innovations, which I thought was interesting.
Yes.
Again, another one for Arkansas, right?
Arkansas.
But I mean, Sam he was a rock star, especially in the startup phase, all throughout his career, obviously. But I mean, when you read his autobiography and the things that he went through, I mean, he was just constantly innovating, constantly, trying to bring to what the customers are really looking for.
Yeah.
And if you can keep that spirit going in the company as it gets obviously as large as Walmart, I mean, that's a big deal. And I think it's a good thing what Walmart's doing with Store 8.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So what are some of the things they are working on right now?
It's probably good and throw at me. Huh?
That was yours.
So,
yes.
well, one of the things that I've noticed that looks like they're investing quite a bit in is the conversational commerce, which I think has a very, very high ceiling. When we talk about conversational commerce, I mean, it can be super simple, text to shop or, voice and all that type of stuff. But I think that as we go down the road with more artificial intelligence, natural language processors, all that kind of fun stuff, and then you have really more technology available to the customers, right? That's what my experience has shown, that as technology evolves, human beings accept that technology because everybody's looking to save time, to multitask, get more things done, be more efficient with their time. Yeah. So they adopt these technologies with the hopes and the spirit that that's going to make their lives faster and easier and better and less expensive, and they have more wealth, right? And I think that if, when we say conversational commerce, what that is today is definitely different than it was 2 years ago. It's going to be different 2 years from now. It's going to be a continuous part of innovation. And so when I look at it, it's one of the headlines in Store 8 is conversational commerce. I think that they're obviously doing some things. They're launching some things like the text to shop. But this thing is going to continue to go down the road, probably for the rest of humanity, because technology is not going to go anywhere.
It's going crazy.
Yeah. Brooke, one of the things I saw and have heard about what they're doing is this concept of the frictionless checkout, trying to remove friction from the checkout process. So those of us who operate in the digital space, that's been a conversation for years and years. And we all remember when Amazon first came out with one-click checkout, and in the digital space, removing friction from the conversion funnel has been a conversation for years and years. But what a lot of folks don't think about is well, what about friction in a physical store experience? And I think there's a lot of opportunity not only to improve the customer experience through innovation and through technology, but also take costs out of the business and improve accuracy, because obviously scanning accuracy through the checkout is pretty important. It prevents shrink if you're a retailer. And again, it just makes that experience that much more enjoyable for a customer. That's one thing I've seen them do. And I've seen also some of the digital elements we talked recently about the store here in Elm Springs, in which there's a lot more digital elements to where you can use a QR code, use your phone, and learn more about a product. That's, I think, some of the things that we're seeing start to get implemented here, and we're fortunate to be here locally, but that will lead to continued innovation in physical stores, not just in the digital experience where we spend a lot of our time. So.
Yeah, and speaking of that friction in store, I mean, there's nothing probably more frustrating for a shopper. You go in, you know what you want, you go to the aisle, and it's out of stock, right? And a lot of times, I mean, Scott, you probably know this based off your experience, but I mean, it doesn't mean that Walmart doesn't have it at that store. It's just not on the shelf ready for you to, to pick up and go on, especially when you're looking in produce and things of that nature, right? And so, but the ability for, for real time to know when a particular item is no longer available for the customer while they're in the front trying to pick it up is a big deal. Yeah. I mean, that's a lot of friction to remove.
It absolutely is. Or in some cases, just trying to find an item because obviously we have search capability on the site and on the app, but how does search capability become live in a physical store? It's using the app, find the item, and then the wonderful thing that Walmart has done, and it's come from some of this innovation, has been, it's on this aisle.
Yeah.
It's on aisle F8. Okay, go to aisle F8. Sure enough, there it is. Well, that didn't used to happen, and that's again one of the challenges that such a big store has is how do you? It's great that there's 100,000 items in here. I'm looking for this one.
Yeah.
This one item. How do I find it? And that's a great tool. So those tools are coming out of some of this work that group is doing that just improves the shopping experience so much.
Well, and I think that your shopper, as the technology advances, they become less and less patient and tolerant of a retailer not being.
We're used to it. We're used to having things now.
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, everything is right now. I mean, I'm very guilty of that. I have discovered in the last few weeks that I'm a very impatient person. It's epiphany for me. It really is. But I mean, even like in my daily life, like in everything that I do, I'm just like, I'm almost impatient to unlock my car because it's just, one more second. But I mean, as the technology advances and as humans continue to adapt that technology and use it, if you're in a Walmart store and I'm looking for dog treats and I can't find that, right? Because the store might be different than the other one that I went to, for example. But, you ask yourself, how in the world can I be on my phone on Google and hit locate and it can find me almost anywhere on the planet, but I can't find a dog treat in a Walmart store in the world's largest retailer. It does not make sense. And so if other retailers start advancing in that kind of convenient technology, that blend, that just uses the technology at their disposal and helps the shopper shop, then, that's a cutting edge advantage. And I think that Walmart's doing a good thing by at least, getting Store 8 going, a few years ago and continue to hammer that out and make sure that they're innovating.
Absolutely.
That's cool. All right. How is all of this innovation, how is it going to affect digital listings in the future? Like not just in store, but just, online. Like, is it more important than ever to have your items online and have the content excellent and everything like that? How are all these different things going to affect?
I think it's, AI, NLP, virtual reality, all these things are wonderful.
Were you about to acronym the acronyms again?
I was about to say AG and AV.
UI, UX.
Yeah, I always feel better about myself when I do that, those acronyms. But none of it can, we love technology, we love the way it helps us and everything like that, but none of it can work without content and data behind it, And obviously there have been and there will continue to be ways for the robots and the algorithms become smarter and smarter, and they learn and they improve, which is kind of a scary thing in itself, but that's a whole different podcast. But the reality is if I create a product, and I don't feed that algorithm some basis, and if I can't continue to supply and advance that, then it's not going to know exactly what to deliver to the customer. And the reality is that when you look at technology, it does make our lives faster, but it also makes it a lot more accurate, right? Just like back to the Google thing, right? If I hit locate and it's inaccurate, it didn't help me worth anything. And I've been in those situations when you're out in the middle of nowhere.
It's like,
and I've carried a backup map because the printed map is the least accurate, but that one can't find me. And so therefore that technology is absolutely useless to me. Now that's something to deal with, does it have the reception? But
right.
But if it didn't have the content, right, then it cannot deliver what needs to be done, and it can't be as accurate as what I need. So you have to continue to expand upon that content.
Yeah, but it's funny. I can recall Eric and I doing a podcast in like 2017, 2018 on this subject, and at the time, Eric was telling me that the conversation with so many of our clients was, hey, this item detail page and this presence online is really just about the 1% of sales that I'm doing on Walmart.com and the physicals. You remember these conversations? And the argument that he used to make and that I had a shared passion for is no, it sets up, buy online, pick up in a store, which was still a little bit nascent at the time, but obviously is now critical part of both Walmart's retail business and their brand's business, our client's business. But it sets up so many other things. Conversational commerce, we just talked about that. Last mile delivery, all these aspects of the customer experience are rooted in that item detail page, and it being the most effective marketing tool it can be. It sets up pretty much everything else. And this is a conversation we have with so many clients. It's about an investment made there is really redirecting perhaps an investment in the past that may have been made in flyers or labeling or shelf talkers. And some of those things are still relevant in a physical store, but it is just a core investment in the future of your business and of growing your brand, because it sets up all these other technologies that we talk about that Store 8 is working on work better, because at the end of the day, they lead to an item detail page, right?
I think this is a good.
Hold on.
How does he get the hand
I
clap?
did, because I'm just
yeah.
visiting.
Okay,
You're here for all the podcasts.
I'll never get that. And that's why Brooke chooses that seat, so I can't touch those. And hand clap myself every time I say something. But I think that on that subject, I think this is a great conversation to make a very significant point, right? Because we have, when you ask that question, Brooke, like, what do we need? Like, how important is this going to be for digital side of things? Mm-hmm. A lot of times when you think digital, you think of just like online only. That's because it's just a historical thing that's in our subconscious that we think that way. But if I looked at the catalog between an online only item versus the catalog requirements of a 1P in-store and online item, if you look at the requirements and the specifications needed for that online only is much less than it is for the omni item, basically. And the reason why is because of a lot of the things that are going on in store, the delivery, all the things that the mapping, everything. And so what would be wonderful for our 1P supplier community to really grasp in the new retail of omni with Walmart, the world's largest and best omni-channel retailer, right, is to understand that it's not a matter of you got an item in store, great, you knock that off. Then you have the same item online. And so what are the check boxes for the online? But you need to realize, like, the catalog expansion of that particular item, which is now an omni item, has a specification to it that is greater than your counters or your competitors that are online only. And so you actually have quite a bit of opportunity. So if you want to seize the day of omnichannel, you have to go deep and get super serious about the data and content, because not only is the retailer requiring it, and so therefore if you're not ready for that, you'll be behind and you'll be missing sales. But the retailers are looking for the champion suppliers that can take advantage of this. And so when we start talking about artificial intelligence, we start talking about all this stuff, the home delivery, everything that's in the out of stocks features, like and then the text to order. All those things are going to be impacting those items. And if you're not advanced with that, then you're not going to be able to seize the day for the omnichannel experience for the shopper.
If you don't think prioritized keywords were a big thing,
huge
before,
huge
in text to commerce, if your keyword descriptions aren't right, that technology doesn't work.
Yeah.
It doesn't work right. It doesn't work well, right?
Yeah.
So much of what we do, even as this innovation, and it's so awesome to see, it goes on, it's rooted in some of the very things that you've talked about and Whyte Spider's talked about for years and years: content quality, relevancy of content, and it all ties back to all this great work that's going on in Walmart, but it leads to a purchase decision, leads to an item. Right?
That's right. So let me ask y'all a question.
Uh-oh.
Does a brand...
She thinks she only gets to ask.
I
know.
Wait. I didn't know there was going to be a
This
test.
is going to be interesting.
And who in which podcast has ever hit their face on the microphone like that?
Just you.
But just me. Does a brand, are they responsible? terrible.
You may have to take that away from
Whose
her.
is this? This thing's terrible. But is a brand responsible? If I walked up to a brand and I was like, "Hey, I need you to build an AI platform so that my shoppers as a retailer can find your item in store," that's like, no, I'm not. That's not my job.
Like, I can't do that.
Right, that is the retailer's job. Is like all these things that Store 8's doing, all the things that Walmart's implementing and launching. I mean, the investment, the time. I mean, it's crazy the amount of investment that Walmart's put behind not only the Store 8 stuff, but also to roll that out across their massive infrastructure.
Yeah.
I mean, significant expenses, right? In investment, not expenses, but investments. The brands are not having to make that. What the brands need to do is they need to come to the table with the content, with the specifications. That's what they have to do, right?
That's their expertise,
right?
Knowing their
Knowing
item
their
and
product,
and everything about their item better than anybody, right?
Exactly. And the brands weren't or Walmart was not asked to, did not used to have to do all this, digital acceleration and innovation 20 years ago. So it's new to the retailer. It's new to Walmart. That new innovation is on top of all the other innovations that Sam was doing at Morrilton, right? And so this is additive. Same thing for the brands, right? We know, and we all understand that we still have to do the same thing as brands in store that we've always done. But there is an additive investment that brands need to make in order to, I guess you don't have to, and a lot of them don't.
Yeah.
But in the spirit of good partnership, if I'm Walmart, I would love to find suppliers that are like reading my Store 8 website all the time, asking my merchants what can I do, talking with global tech, really getting in and saying, how do I innovate with my content and my data and my attributes and my imagery and my rich media, everything, even though you don't have it live on the site today, we know it has to come back, right?
It's coming.
So, but how is there a brand out there that is like, and I'm talking like a 1P omni-channel Walmart major brand that is like spearheading in the weeds, super deeply innovative on content and attributes to the point of they're leveraging the same things like Walmart is, conversational commerce. They're looking at ratings and reviews. They're looking at keyword phrases like you're saying. They're looking at competitive sets, competitive retailers. How are they bringing all that together? And even, all kinds of stuff to deliver the best in class on the planet attributes and content to Walmart as an omni-channel brand.
Absolutely.
I mean,
okay, but you said you're going to ask her a question, though.
There you go. That was your rant.
That means so much. I can't tell you what that means to me.
Yeah.
Good job.
Okay, but you were going to ask her a question, and I wanted to. I'm a guest. I wanted to see that.
Oh,
happen.
no. He answered his question.
Yeah.
He's like, here's a question.
It really wasn't a question.
right.
Here's the question that I'm about to answer. I didn't want you to ask me, so I'm just going to ask it to myself.
I'm going to ask myself on behalf of you.
Thank you. That's great.
That's what I did, I think.
That's
Yeah. So you miss. You're not going to
great.
get that, Scott.
Okay.
That's
so
why I'm like, I didn't have to answer it.
I know you got some more questions, but there's one other thing, though. We've talked about a lot of cool, innovative stuff, but some of the things that Store 8 is working on are some very fundamental blocking and tackling unsexy type things like perpetual inventory. One of the things that makes everything about Walmart.com and store pickup and that sort of thing work is the ability to research not only where is this item in the store, but is this item in stock in this store today, and that sort of thing. And one of the things historically about some of the legacy systems, not only in Walmart but most retailers, was perpetual inventory up to date? Was it accurate, and was it in real time? And I can recall back in the day where the processing power to do real time inventory is just so expensive, we'll never do it. And now it's kind of it's coming towards being table stakes. But there's some things that they're working on doing that solve more of the fundamental elements of the retail experience. And making it a better shopping experience, in addition to all these really cool things that we've been talking about. And it's, not everything is the cool new thing. Sometimes it's just solving problems that have been around for years and years. And for as long as a website or an app has been connected to the legacy store systems, there's not always been up to the minute real-time accuracy. That's one of the things they're working on, and I'm excited as a former merchant to see that. Because if you get to the customer to the point of saying yes, pressing the buy button or something, and they made a decision based on inaccurate information. And I will tell you, I've had experiences in Walmart where I ordered something online, go to the store, pick it up. Oh, we don't have it.
Like, wait, but you said
Does
you did.
not bode well for
It
Scott.
does not. It doesn't, and it affects your confidence in shopping with them online in the future.
Absolutely.
So those investments are just as exciting to me as some of the really cool stuff, because that solves a basic problem in the digital and the omni-channel shopping experience that have been out there since Walmart.com was called Walmart Online. So it's exciting to see those, to me, just as much as the cool new stuff, right?
Yeah,
That's really cool.
I agree. One thing you said on that
That's
is,
That's fun.
Are you going to quote me back to myself?
well, if we go back, if we just go like the digital pure play e-com,
Yeah.
one of the most expensive and difficult things to ever do is to gain a new customer. It is absolutely ridiculously
In any
expensive.
kind of business,
In
really.
yeah, you're right. In any kind of business. And especially in the digital space where there's so much, there's an endless aisle of competition, right? Like there's geography doesn't necessarily apply in pure digital.
Right.
And so in in the e-com space, if you can acquire that new customer and get them into your site and they check out and become a customer, man, that is a huge win. And that doesn't happen at such a velocity that we would like to think it does. The worst thing in the world that Walmart could do is to do exactly what happened with you, is that you went through, ordered online, and you go to pick it up and it's out of stock.
Yeah.
I mean, man, Walmart has lost credibility. We're talking about all the investments they made, all the investment that a brand's made, and if they can't retain that customer, it's a massive loss. Yeah. And it's the same thing on the content side. If I find an item that is in stock, but I cannot tell what that item is, that's
a
terrible.
lost sale.
You're like,
Yeah, you're
oh,
lost sale.
Like on to the next one.
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely. It's a lost sale, and that is pretty painful. It's it's interesting, the fact that some of these things just feel like they're fundamental basics, and you would think, given how old retailing dates back to the BCs,
Right, exactly.
we're still figuring out how to solve some of these
Yeah.
things, and it's wonderful to see how technology gets leveraged to solve a lot of them, and it's great, but they're fundamental consumer pain points. One of the things that I can recall seeing research, not only from Walmart and Sam's Club, but from others, is that an omni-channel shopper, a shopper that stores both physical locations and online, is typically more valuable, not only average purchase, frequency of purchase, lifetime customer value. So when you disappoint someone like what I just described, and you've gone to the effort to get them in the first place, man, it just hurts. So I think that's part of why this is exciting to see, and why what we do and playing a role in all of it is so very important to me. So.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you so much, guys, for coming, and I look forward to more conversations with you both.